Characteristics of living things. While outside one day, you notice something strange in the grass. It's slimy, bright yellow, and about the size of a dime. You have no idea what it is. Is it a plant? A plant part that fell from a tree? Is it alive? How can I tell? An amazing variety of living things exist on Earth, but living things are all alike in several ways. What does a dog have in common with a bacterium? What does a fish have in common with a mushroom? And what do you have in common with a slimy yellow blob known as a slime mold? Read on to find out what about the 6 characteristics that all organisms share. Living things have cells. All living things, such as those in Figure 1, are composed of one or more cells. A cell is a membrane-covered structure that contains all of the materials necessary for life. The membrane that surrounds a cell separates the contents of a cell from the cell's environment. Most cells are too small to be seen with the naked eye. Some organisms are made up of trillions of cells. In an organism with many cells, different kinds of cells perform specialized functions. For example, your nerve cells transport signals, and your muscle cells are specialized for movement. In an organism made up of only one cell, different parts of the cell perform different functions. For example, a one-celled paramecium needs to eat, so some parts of the cell take in food, other parts of the cell break down the food, so other parts of the cell excrete waste. Living things sense and respond to change. All organisms have the ability to sense change in their environment and to respond to that change. When your pupils are exposed to light, they respond by becoming smaller. A change that affects the activity of the organism is called a stimulus. The plural, stimuli. Stimuli can be chemicals, gravity, light, sound, hunger, or anything that causes an organism to respond in some way. A gentle touch causes a response in a plant, shown in Figure 2. Homeostasis. Even though an organism's outside environment may change, conditions inside an organism's body must stay the same. Many chemical reactions keep an organism alive. These reactions can take place only when conditions are exactly right. So an organism must maintain stable internal conditions to survive. The maintenance of a stable internal environment is called homeostasis. Responding to external changes. Your body maintains a temperature of about 37 degrees Celsius. When you get hot, your body responds by sweating. When you get cold, your muscles twitch in an attempt to warm you up. This twitching is called shivering. Whether you are sweating or shivering, your body is trying to return itself to normal. Other animals also need to have stable internal conditions, but many cannot respond the way you do. They have to control their body temperature by moving from one environment to another. If they get too warm, they move to the shade. If they get too cool, they move to the sunlight. Living things reproduce. Organisms make other organisms similar to themselves. They do so in one of two ways: by sexual reproduction or by asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, two parents produce offspring that will share characteristics of both parents. Most animals and plants reproduce in this way. The bear cubs in Figure 3 were produced sexually by their parents. In asexual reproduction, a single parent produces offspring that are identical to the parent. Figure 4 shows an organism that reproduces asexually. Most single-celled organisms reproduce in this way. Living things have DNA. The cells of all living things contain the molecule deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. DNA controls the structure and function of cells. When organisms reproduce, they pass copies of their DNA to their offspring. Passing DNA ensures that offspring resemble parents. The passing of traits from one generation to the next is called heredity. Living things use energy. Organisms use energy to carry out the activities of life. These activities include such things as making food, breaking down food, moving materials into and out of the cells, and building cells. An organism's metabolism is the total of all the chemical activities that an organism performs. Living things grow and develop. All living things, whether they are made of one cell or many cells, grow during periods of their lives. In a single-celled organism, the cell gets larger and divides, making other organisms. In organisms made of many cells, the number of cells gets larger and the organism gets bigger. In addition to getting larger, living things may develop and change as they grow. Just like the organisms in Figure 5, you will pass through different stages in your life as you develop into an adult. Please be able to answer, after reading this, these 3 questions. Be able to describe the 6 characteristics of living things, describe how organisms maintain stable internal conditions, and explain how asexual reproduction differs from sexual reproduction. The vocab words cell, stimulus, homeostasis, sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction, heredity, and metabolism.